We use the alphabet every single day, but have you ever stopped to think about it? Like, really think about it? For most of us, it's just a tool. But what if I told you it could be something so much more? Today, we're going to dive into this incredible idea that the Sanskrit alphabet, it's not just a random jumble of letters. It's actually a scientific and spiritual map. A map of the entire universe, and even our own consciousness. Okay, so let's get into it. Here's what we've got on deck today. We're going to start with the big mystery of the alphabet itself. Then, we'll break down a couple of really cool concepts, Akshara and Varna. After that, we'll uncover the deep philosophy that's literally hidden inside the sounds. And finally, we'll see how the whole thing is beautifully reflected in the script itself. It's going to be a fascinating journey. So to kick things off, I want to ask you a really simple question. And honestly, it's probably something you've never even considered before. Think about it. Why does B follow A? And C follow B? I mean, is there any reason for that order? For our Roman alphabet, the answer is not really. It's pretty much random. It just is. But here's where it gets amazing. The Sanskrit alphabet, the Varnamala, is the complete opposite. Its sequence isn't arbitrary at all. It actually follows this deeply logical, scientific, and you could even say cosmic order. And this deep philosophy, it's not just hiding in the order of the letters. It's actually baked right into the very words they use to talk about a letter. Let's dig into two really important terms for this, Akshara and Varna. Okay, so first up, we have Akshara. This word literally means that which is indestructible. How cool is that? See, the ancient perspective was that sound isn't just a fleeting thing that disappears. No way. The idea is that once you make a sound, you create a vibration that becomes a permanent part of the universe. It never, ever truly dies. And you can see why, with that belief, speaking mindfully and positively becomes so incredibly important, right? All right, the second term is Varna, which literally translates to color. And I love this analogy. Think about it like this. Pure consciousness, in its absolute state, is like pure white light. It has no specific color. But as a thought or a sound starts to come down into the physical world, getting ready to be spoken, it takes on a certain quality, a specific color. So the letters, they're like the palette of paints we use to express what's going on inside our minds. We're literally painting pictures with sound. So this entire philosophy, it's encoded right into the sequence of the sounds themselves. It's not just an idea, it's a structure. In fact, if you just look at the first few vowels of the Sanskrit alphabet, they tell a story, an epic story, the story of creation itself. Okay, so the whole journey starts with just It's the most basic sound you can make, right? It just comes from an open throat with almost no effort. And that's the point. It represents the absolute, that silent, unified state of existence before anything else was created. You can think of it as the sound of pure oneness. And then, from that total stillness, you get ah. See? It's just a longer version of ah. This is the sound of expansion. It's that moment when the one decides to become many. It's like the very first breath of creation, and it brings with it this feeling of bliss, or as it's called in Sanskrit, ananda. Well, once you have expansion, what comes next? You've got to have movement, right? And that's where E comes in, the I sound. This introduces the idea of motion, and with it, desire, or ichcha. This is what kicks off a relative existence, an existence where things can actually move from here to there, which creates the possibility for duality. And what happens when that first little spark of desire gets stronger? Well, that brings us to the long vowel E, just E. This represents the intensification of that desire. It grows into a focused, directing force, a kind of ruling power. And check this out. It is absolutely no coincidence that the Sanskrit word for the supreme ruler or controller, Ishwara, starts with this exact sound. Okay, so we've seen this incredible philosophy just in the sequence of vowels. But this isn't just some abstract, high-level idea. It gets way more specific. There's this whole science of letters called Matrika Vigyan, and it suggests that every single letter carries its own unique, built-in vibrational meaning. So, how much power can one letter really hold? I mean, really. The idea here is that each letter has its own vibe, its own energy, that actually shapes the meaning of the words it's a part of. To really get a feel for this, let's zoom in on one specific sound. Let's take the sound the or da. Its core vibrational meaning has to do with a forceful motion that splits or divides. Now, you can see this pop up in Sanskrit words like dvaita, which means duality, two things, or dvida, a dilemma, being split between two choices. A door, dwar, literally divides the inside from the outside. But here's the part that blows my mind. You can feel that same echo in English. Words like dual, divide, even doubt. It's all there. Okay, but this whole philosophy isn't just something you hear in the sounds. It's actually something you can see. It's woven right into the visual design of the script they use for Sanskrit, called Devanagari. So take a look at pretty much any letter in this script. You're going to notice two main parts, right? You've got that horizontal line running across the top. That's called the Shiroreka, and it represents the entire cosmos, the whole universe. And then you have the main vertical line, the danda, and that represents the individual. You, me. But what's really beautiful is how they connect. In almost every single letter, that individual line is attached to and hangs from the line of the cosmos. So the very act of writing is a constant physical reminder of this fundamental philosophy, that the individual is never separate from the universe. We are an integrated part of it, living in harmony with the whole. So let's just take a step back. What have we really unpacked here? It's become pretty clear that the Sanskrit alphabet, the Varnamala, is so much more than just a way to write things down. What it is a complete, holistic system. It's a map. A literal map that charts the flow of consciousness itself, all the way from that silent, unmanifest state of pure unity down into the vibrant, messy, diverse universe that we all experience. And it's all encoded, sound by sound, letter by letter. You know, there's an ancient proverb that just nails this whole concept. Amantram aksharam nasti. And what it means is there is no letter that is not a mantra. Just think about that. Every single letter is seen as a sacred sound, just packed with its own power and its own meaning. And that leaves us with a pretty profound final thought, doesn't it? If the very building blocks of our language, the individual sounds and letters, are this potent, this meaningful, just imagine how incredibly powerful our words must be. And what does that say about the responsibility we have every single time we open our mouths to speak?